After just recently finishing recreating FNAF 6 in Minecraft, I decided now that we should go back to making something more fun, which is what I was doing previously, and that was making Help Wanted into Minecraft. And now that experience was very fun for me because it got me to use a bunch of features in Minecraft command blocks that I've never used before, and I'm quite happy to get back into this project again, as in it was very fun the last time I recreated it and all the different minigames to see how each one could work. Now I have a bunch more minigames that we can create this episode, and I plan to make a lot more than the last time. And the ones that I have planned for this episode is the FNAF 1 levels from Help Wanted, the Parts and Service Chica, Parts and Service Freddy, and the levels from Night Terrors of Funtime Freddy. And this is going to be very fun because they all have challenges that I might have to get past, and I can see how I can do this by using new command block features. So let's go into Minecraft and continue with this project. So here are the outlines I have for the FNAF 1 levels. So as you can see, it's pretty similar to FNAF 1 with the left and right hallways and the office being in the center. There's not much change to the original FNAF 1, except there is no kitchen and there's no price counter. In here is the supply closet, over here is parts and service. There are a few tiny changes, but none of them are too all big. Here are the bathrooms, so I have nothing in them, like in the game, because I don't need to. There will be no kitchens. Here's the party rooms where they have left tables from the original FNAF 1 does, and in the office we have the desk, the posters, and everything on the wall. And now that we have all of the outlines, this means we can start building on the FNAF 1 levels. We have the FNAF 1 level map complete. We can now start adding some gameplay to it. So as you can see here, we have the checker pattern on the map art, the black ones around the doors, the little soda cup on there, as well as a few other things on the desk, little cupcake, the office fan, and a few other things around the map. And if I go out here, as you can see, we have black concrete to mark off the doors. We have our room which goes out into the party room out here. We have the stage with the 2 lines of map art. We have Pirate Cove here where Foxy would be, parts and service, and over here we have the restrooms where Freddy would be hiding in the bathroom here. So as you can see, I've also used this map art where not the whole block is taken up. Now this is very fun. If I clear my effects, as you can see, I've also added light blocks to the build so it's more immersive, and so because the player will not have night vision while playing through the minigame. So now the first thing we should get doing is, as you can see, we have this lamp, but the first thing we need to do is the camera system and the other office resources like the doors, lights, and cameras. So let's get working on the gameplay side of things. So the first thing we're going to do is work on the doors, and you may have noticed I've added these 2 player heads or armor stands with player heads on top of them for the door buttons. I've also animated the fan just with the simple hopper clock, which I've used many times before. As you can see, if I were to punch this, the door closes, and if I were to punch it again, the door would open and the player head swaps out. Now if I were to do this, I would like it does the same thing but for the lights, and we can do both at the same time to see if there's an animatronic out there or if they went away once we've closed the door. Now this is actually a new technique that I've never used before, and as you can see down here, here are the commands that make it work. So if I were to go over here, here are the door frames that are loading up into the build, and here are all of the player heads that make up the button pressing. Now there are interactions in the build which are what detecting when I punch it. So as you can see, if I turn on hitbox, is there an interaction where the button is, so it detects if I punch there, and it detects when I'll punch. It will then play one of 2 outputs depending if the door is open or closed, and this detects if I punch it and it'll set the door to open or close depending what it is. It'll clone it in order and play a few sounds to make it seem like the door is closing. Now over here, this makes sure that it doesn't increase any more than it needs to, and then over here it works for the same for the lights, except instead of cloning things, they're just removing the black concrete in the doorways. So now we have to work on the camera system so we can locate the animatronics if they're in the certain event. And even if I clear my effects, if I go out here, there are no light blocks, so you cannot see, but let's punch it, light blocks are now added so you can see, and in the cameras it won't be as bright. So now let's work on the camera system so we can track down Freddy, Foxy, Chica, and Bonnie. Now this camera system is a new one that I've actually never used before, and as you can see, if I punch this monitor like in Help Wanted, it'll give me all of the items, and I'm able to scroll through both of the pages, and when I'm on the kitchen camera it will say it's disabled audio only, and I can scroll back through the pages, and also up just above my hotbar it can tell me where I am, and if I crouch it would exit the cameras. And if I punch it again, we can go in and out, and it also saves the camera slot, so you don't have to keep selecting the same camera over and over again. And here are the commands that make this all work. And I think it's much more better than the first camera systems I've been using because it's actually much more accurate to how they work. So as you can see, these are the two command blocks which will detect if you're in the kitchen camera, which would make sure a title stays on screen forever. It will then title the cameras disabled audio only, just like how it does in the original FNAF 1 and FNAF 1 levels in Help Wanted. And if we're not on the camera, it will reset it. And these command blocks detect when we throw the item. And setting a command block to conditional removes the need to have a comparator because they are detecting only when the power is active. And these are what plays the sound when you activate a different camera, so just make it more immersive. Now these are what give you the effect. It'll give you a levitation effect, infinitely teleport you there, and then it will tell you where you are just above your hotbar. So if I were to go back in here, we can now search throughout the cameras to see who we need to find. Like as you can see, there's the show stage, dining room, Pirate Cove, West Hall corner, and it tells us where we are to let the player know a bit more where they're going, and it's a bit more user friendly. And I found this camera system a lot better, and I will probably use this design a lot more in the future of my designs. So now that we've done this means we can now work on other things like the power meter, the animatronics themselves, and the time. The way to get Bonnie to activate is I created a scoreboard called F1BC Activate, for standing for FNAF 1 Bonnie Active, so then we know when Bonnie needs to be activated. Then in a command block, I would make it detect when there is more than one of that score, and when it does, it will then remove one digit from that number, and it will be a countdown timer, which will then detect when Bonnie should be activated. And this is what I'm going to be using for the rest of the other animatronics. But before we can move any further, we actually need to make the time system, because Bonnie will only activate when it reaches 1 AM in the actual FNAF 1 on night 1. So what we're going to have to do is create a new scoreboard for the time, so it will know when to activate Bonnie. So as you can see, we'll just probably do it over here, and we'll just grab some lime concrete and just place it over here somewhere. So let's first create a scoreboard. Scoreboard object is add time, or F1 game timer probably, because then it will actually tell us where we need to go. Then we can set our time to whatever we want, to maybe F1 time, and then let's set it to around 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we can do that, etc., so we know when the time should be. So now we just have to make the countdown work itself. So the way the time works in Help Wanted, there's a clock on the desk like a normal timer, which will tell us what the time is. So as you can see, I've used this player head here, which displays 12 on it, and I have the rest of them in the chest over here. So as you can see, here is the timer, which will detect if the timer matches in a certain number, which will then detect what time it should be. So as you can see, there's 12, 1 AM, 2 AM, 3 AM, 4 AM, and 5 AM. There is no 6 AM because you do not need to display something, because the game will end at that point. So as you can see, the timer now says it is at 9,120, and if I were to turn this on, these would be detecting what time it is, changing the player head in the office, which would make it so you know what the time is and when the animatronic would start moving around. So here, as you can see, I've now completed it, and the timer is now being reset over and over again. So as you can see, if I were to amount this to the timer, the clock would change to 1 and change the playhead, and if I were to do that again, you would keep changing, increasing by 1 until it is finally 6 AM, and this would then detect the 6 AM theme over here, ending the whole game itself and beating the minigame. So now we just have to make the reset commands for that and the actual 6 AM chime itself, and then we can continue on with Bonnie, and then we can start making more animatronics. And the way this does this is that we are just detecting the same thing like I did earlier, and then just repeatedly changing the player head so it knows when it should be what time. So now, as you can see here, I have now implemented the 6 AM theme and the reset commands for the actual game itself. So as you can see, depending what the time would be, depending what will happen. So if as you can see, it will play some sounds being in the 6 AM theme note block tune, and then we can actually show it off. So after I press this button here, we'll go inside this, and the 6 AM thing will start playing. And then as you can see, we have invisibility, so we cannot see our hand, and then it will be cleared, but we will be teleported into the hub box. But at the moment I haven't made that, so at the moment there's nothing to do, which means now we can go continuing on with Bonnie and continue on. So as you can see, here is what Bonnie is look like completed, and as you can see, it's quite a few command blocks. We have the movement ones over here and his pose. So as you can see, it detects when he will be in a certain pose, which will change his position and where he's being teleported, and it detects where he is. Over here, this is what happens when he moves. A redstone block will be set here to remove him, and this will be a randomizer to detect which, where, and where Bonnie will go. So detecting if he'll stay, move twice, or go somewhere different at all. And that works for every single location Bonnie has, to detect if he goes backward, forward, or not moves at all. And it's pretty simple because it just detects his Bonnie's position, and when it does that, it will then just detect where he will be going, as you can see like that. And it works for every single one of his position until he reaches the door. And when he reaches to the door, a timer will start which will detect when he is going to jump scare the player if the door is not open. And if he does jump scare the player, the jump scare over here will be powered with this repeating command block, which will teleport you inside the box, clear everyone's inventory, and then it will play an animation of Bonnie inside here. So as you can see, here is our Bonnie model right there for the jump scare. And if I were to grab the redstone block to show this off, as you can see, I'll get a jump scare like that with the sound playing, and I'll probably change the sound in the future, but that's all I have at the moment. So now that we can do this, we can now move on to Chica. And here's Chica fully completed, and I see no reason to go over Chica, considering she's the exact same way as Bonnie, it's just different positions and a jump scare animation. So as you can see, it's the same commands used for Bonnie, just in for Chica. So as you can see, they're almost identical, besides the placement and the teleportation and all that. So as you can see, the commands are pretty simple, and we have every single one of her positions here: the stage, the dining room, the restrooms, the kitchen, and all of that, and then till she reaches the door. And this is actually a pretty good design. I'll probably use this for animatronics in the future. It works the same way, you'll just teleport her when she's in that position. And I actually quite like this. So if I were to go over here, as you can see, I've now added the reset commands for Bonnie and Chica in the 6 AM theme, so when the game ends, they will be reset. And for Chica's animation, as you can see, I'm just going to grab it right here. As you can see, there's Chica's animation. She'll go back and forth and just jump scare you like so. So now that we can do that, we can move on to Foxy and Freddy, and then we'll be continuing on all the animatronics and complete them all. Here are all the animatronics on their stage. As you can see, the only one we're missing is Freddy, because he is not done yet. So here is Freddy, as you can see here. I'm not going to add functionality to him until I make Foxy, but as you can see, his model is pretty straightforward, and it's just Freddy Fazbear, like I've done multiple times before. He's got his top hat, bow tie, hands, ears, and all that, which is actually pretty helpful, and he's not all too that much. So now that we've got a Freddy model, we can now go and do Foxy, and see how he can work and make him more advanced, just like in Help Wanted. So here's the model we are using for Foxy, and as you can see, he actually looks pretty good, and he actually is much more advanced than the others in the design of armor stands. And he uses about 12 to 15 armor stands, I think, and as you can see, he's got a tusked ear and all that. We also have his hook right there like that, and it's very, very accurate. And as you can see, I haven't added the commands that will actually infinite teleport him there, but I will do it in a second. So then we can teleport him up here and start making the Pirate Cove work. So what we're going to do is that we're going to close different phrases of it. As you can see, it will be fully closed on stage 1, it will then be slightly opened on stage 2, on stage 3 it will be fully open and Foxy will be out there before running at the player and banging on their door, and if the door is not closed, he will murder them. So now we just have to make Foxy functional. So here are the commands that detect when we are not looking at Foxy's camera, and it's just this little system here, and these, like usual, we have Foxy's different poses and his different poses in general. So this is pretty simple. I just use the same thing every single time because it's more simpler than doing the same thing over and over again. So as you can see, these just detect if we're looking at Foxy's camera or not, which detects if I am or are not looking at his camera, and it'll set a score to is Foxy watch on or off. So at the moment, if I were to go up here and go into the camera, and as you can see, it will say I'm watching Foxy, and if I were to exit the camera or change the camera, it will say I'm not being watched. But if I change it back to any other camera, nothing will change. But I change it back to Pirate Cove, he will say he was being watched again. And if I close the camera, he will also not be being watched. Because then, and we activate the cameras again, because then we just know if he's being watched or not, and we can change the terror in chat to instead being a terror, to actually changing a timer scoreboard, which will count down when he is going to run out of Pirate Cove to the player. Now here are the commands that make up the jump scare and banging on the door. A redstone block will be set on this a certain area, as you can see when it detects it's 0, and then it'll either power the jump scare if the door is not closed. Here's the model for it. It's not as detailed because you don't see the whole model, just like Bonnie and Chica, it's not always as detailed because it doesn't need to be. So as you can see, we have all of the main 4 or 3 animatronics done, and now all we have to do is Freddy. But to show off Foxy's jump scare, I'll put it here. As you can see, that happens before he jump scares us, and it's actually pretty simple, and it's just how the rest go. So now all we have to do now is the man himself, Freddy Fazbear, and he shouldn't be too all simple because I know exactly how to make him. So here's Freddy's entire circuit right here, and this is just detect if we are on the cameras on him or on the camera. So this detects if I'm not looking at the camera that Freddy is on, which it will then remove. So if he's on this camera, it will remove 1 if I'm not looking at it, like this. So if it detects that I'm not on the camera number 1, it will remove 1 from the timer, or if the camera isn't on. So if the camera isn't on, it will do that as well. So, and then here are the different poses, and it detects when it closes, it will reset everything before playing the sound of him laughing, and then setting a redstone block over there, playing some footstep noises. Now this detects when he's at the door or not. So if it detects he's at the door and the timer runs out, and the door is open or closed, it will then determine what happened. A redstone block will be set there for his jump scare, and here he is, and his jump scare will play out if the door is not closed. So now all we have to do now is the power to finish off Freddy himself. So here is the power system, and as you can see on the side of the screen, we have a scoreboard called F1 power or FNAF 1 power, and then we have all of these command blocks which detect when the power is a certain number, and then it will change the armor stand's name to be accurate with the scoreboard. So as you can see, if I were to decrease the score by 1, as you can see, it is now 99%. If I were to do it again, it's 98, and it goes all the way down to 0. And if I keep doing this until it goes all the way down to 0 over here, and then the power will go out. And the color actually changes depending on how much power is left. It'll go from green to yellow to red until when you hit 0%, it'll go to dark red, indicating you have no more power left and you can't do anything at all. So if I were to actually deplete it entirely, as you can see, it goes to red. And if I were to keep going up, it would eventually hit yellow when we go over 20, so then it'll go back to yellow, and then eventually going back to green. Once we go, or if we go back down, it can go back to red, and this is how we make the power be displayed in the office. And now I'm going to show off the power outage. As you can see, we only have 11%, and if we start using more of our office resources, such as the cameras, and if we go back and forth, the actual power will deplete a lot faster than usual. I've also added in booping the nose, so you can boop the nose. If I turn this off, shut the door, the power will decrease a lot more faster than usual. As you can see, it's decreasing a lot more than it would usually if you were only using one resource at a time. So as you can see, if it hits 2%, and then it's about to hit 1% in a second, and as you can see, and then it'll hit 0%, the fan stops animating, the lights go out, a clown sound, and after a little bit, the Toreador March will play with Freddy in the door, and it will actually stop randomly depending whenever it decides to randomly stop. As you can see, stop there, and then we'll get Freddy's jump scare. There we go, and then the game has ended. And as you can see here are the command blocks that make their work. Throughout the actual power outage sequence, there's going to be random commands, and at the very end, it will be make sure you get to jump scared at the end of the song, but throughout the game, or the song, you have a different time. And here's the play ahead for the flashing lights, and then here's what makes that work, with the flashing lights going back and forth in the hopper clock when the power is out. Now that completes the FNAF 1 level, so now we can move on to something else. So here's the level for Parts and Service Chica, and I've done it just across from Parts and Service Bonnie. As you can see, I have a lot of armor stands everywhere, like some packet of chips, soda, some pizza, and other stuff like the pizza boxes, and Chica's arm, and the cupcake itself, and Chica with missing arm. Here's the cupcake with a soda bottle next to it on top of a plate, and you can take this cupcake, which I'm going to use later. And then here's the bottle here, and we have Chica herself, and actually here is the chemi spray, which we can use, which will actually spray Chica. So here we have the food particles on Chica, which we'll have to put inside the bin on our right. So we're going to remove the armor stands and put it in there. We also have a toy Chica plush there, as well as a bin and a few other things. So let's first make it so we can remove the food particles and put it in the bin. So I've now had something to text out, and I have PS, bin, Chica, crouch, which will be part of the Service Chica, bin, crouch. So as you can see, if I take the pizza slice out of there, and I'll to look at the bin and crouch, it would then say I've deposited the pizza slice. And it hasn't actually done it yet, but I figured out we can detect exactly where you're looking. So it then detects when you're looking at a certain armor stand, and when it does that, it will then run a command, which will detect if you've only deposited 0 to 2 pizzas, because you're only allowed to deposit 3, and then it will detect if you're holding a player head labeled pizza slice, as you can see like this. And at the moment it just says you have deposited a pizza slice, but it will actually deposit it later on. So as you can see, if I were to grow more like this, and I can keep doing this infinitely until it adds more and more up. So now we just have to make it more functionality to make it more friendly. So as you can see, here is an interaction, and this is the same thing I use for the buttons in Parts Service Bonnie, because now you just have to press the 2 on either side of Chica's jaw to continue on. So as you can see, it detects if you are allowed to press the button, because if you are not allowed to press the buttons, Chica will jump scare you. So if I'm allowed to press the buttons, as you can see, and I punch it, it will just say open or something, or click. And if I do this, it will then say game over because I've clicked it. But if I reset it and then punch it when I'm not supposed to, it will say game over, giving me a different output, but it should actually jump scare me later on when the jump scare is actually implemented into the game. So as you can see, if I were to show this off, and as you can see, we have the 2 buttons on either side of Chica, and if we were to punch this one, like that, a play sound will play and the button would change from red to green. So as you can do the same side, and now we just have to detect what will happen next, where Chica will jump forward, jump scaring the player before having an infestation, and we'll have to put these back onto Chica. So after that, Chica will then jump scare the player and change his pose and jump forward. So once she does that, this is what will power when it detects the 2 buttons being pressed. First, it will reset the buttons, change Chica's pose to make her look like she's jumping forward out at the player, play a few voice lines, and while playing a few sounds as well to give it more realistic feel. It will then set the redstone block over here, which will start playing some sounds, and then also teleport cockroaches onto Chica's face to make it look like she is an infestation before powering this command, which will tell you to spray Chica with the chemi spray. And then this will detect when you do, which will play a sound to make it sound like you sprayed Chica, do a few more sounds and reset it. And that will be actually very simple. So I'm going to show you this off to you, and the way we'll have to do this is we'll have to reset the score. So first we'll have to go scoreboard players set. So we'll have to write scoreboard players set at P, button press 0 to 1. So now we can press the buttons. So if I were to reset Chica and press this button again, and this button, she'll play animations, we'll play some sounds, and then have the cockroaches over Chica's face, making a sound, and then we'll have to spray the chemistry. When we do that, it will play some particles, and they are now disappeared, and we can now continue on with the Parts Service Chica, which will have to put the arm back on Chica, as well as the cupcake before returning the cupcake to the plate. This system right here is what detects when the player needs to look at the arm. So it detects when you look at the arm and crouch, which will put the arm in your hand, play a few sounds to make it look like you've picked up the arm. And once you do that, it will instantly teleport the arm in front of you to look like you're carrying it, and then when you crouch again while looking at Chica, it will then actually put the arm back into place. So after I've showed this up with the separate arm, and then it will teleport the other arm down here to replace that arm to make it look like it's changed its pose. So as you can see, if I were to put all the pizzas back into the bin like that, as you can see, an arm stand is teleported on top of the bin with the player head on it to make it look like I've actually dropping the pizza into the bin. Then I have to press these 2 buttons after I wait a bit, and then the cockroaches will appear, and once that happens, I can then press this button after time, spraying Chica, and then once this is where the fun part happens. So then you can crouch by looking at this, and then it'll teleport the arm in front of me, and if I look at Chica and crouch, it'll then put the arm back on and attach it. Then we just have to attach the cupcake back to Chica, and then we'll just have to detect that the cupcake is now on Chica's arm, for then another infestation to spread while we have to catch the cupcake. So here's the randomizer that makes it work. So it then detects when the armor stand that is in that position is wearing a cupcake. You'll then get rid of the cupcake off it to make it look like the cupcake's disappeared before telling the infestation needs to be spreaded, and then you have to press this chemi spray, and then it will set a scoreboard to the cupcake's gone and replace it to make it look like the cupcake is no longer in Chica's hand. So then this will detect if the cupcake score matches 1, and it'll remove 1 from the cupcake move and Chica jump scare, because if you don't cut the cupcake in time, Chica will jump scare you. And this works kind of like how Bon did in Sis Location, where there's three random outputs and they have a certain amount of time to grab them before they disappear again. So that will just have to be that. So now these command blocks have an output, and it detects if the cupcake random matches 1, 2, or 3, depending which random place they'll go to. It will then reset it, teleport the cupcake into a certain position up in the build, before eventually teleporting it back down here for it to restart its cycle. And this will then give you a slice of complimentary pizza once you catch the cupcake, and then it will end the minigame, and we can go work on something else. Now Parts and Service Chica is now all completed because I've added the reset commands and Chica's jump scare herself, which means we can now work on the next Parts and Service one, being Parts and Service Freddy, and this will be very challenging. So here is Freddy, and his arm stand model is at least combined with at least 40 armor stands in total, and took me a few hours to build. Now all of the decorations around him are complete as well, and he's actually very hard and an actually impressed model I am actually impressed of making. We also have all the other decorations around the build, such as a few boxes and the music box. And Freddy actually has an interior as well, which is why he uses more than one armor stand for the body. So as you can see, he has a bunch of different interiors, like the child's watch, the button that you have to click, the music box, and the child's shoe. And you can all take these out and put them on the desk, or put them in the Parts and Service lost and found bin. So we can also put that back in, take out the child's shoe, and able to put it in the bin next to us, or if we want to, throw it on the ground and prepare to die. So now we actually have to make this functional. So we'll have to first grab a hat and put it in the lost and found bin. So here is Freddy, and as you can see, he has a hat in his mouth, which is the hat that we'll have to put in Parts of Service. So as you can see, I've started a bit of command block working, and we'll actually have a score called hat taken, and they'll then teleport the hat down, and we'll have to, because you have to do it twice instead of one. So then it will detect if you have clicked it once, and if you have clicked it once, it will then be able to take the hat out of it. So it will then detect when we look at the bin, and when we do, and if we're holding the hat, it will then say the hat is in the bin. So if I were to go to show this up, and come up here, and then grab the hat, it will then tell me that it has a pretty good hold of it, and we need to give it another tug. Then we do that, and we do this, and let's say hat is in the bin. And we keep, and then it'll teleport the hat in the bin. The next thing that will happen is once we put the hat in the bin, it will then tell us to make sure there's nothing else stuck inside. So as you can see, then it'll tell us to pull the bow tie outwards. And I've added an interaction that you have to hit, which would actually pull it outwards. So if we punch it, it will then move this side to side, and then we have access to Freddy's interior, where we can do what we need to do in here, such as grab the child's watch and put it in the lost and found bin, or the shoe, or the music box. So now we just have to actually make the commands that make it sure we need to do this, and then we should be all set. Now the next thing is this tick thing right here, which is actually the safety latch, which will go back and forth, and if you touch it, you'll get jump scared by Freddy. So you can see down here, we just have a small little hopper clock, which will change the animation of the leg to make it look like it's swinging back and forth. And to make it so it detects when you've actually hit it, is because you have to right click to take an item out of an armor stand, and you can also detect when you right click on an interaction. So if you accidentally right click on this interaction, you will be jump scared by Freddy, which is actually a pretty simple thing to do. So then we have to grab the watch out of Freddy's chest cavity, and to do that we just have to right click on it, and we should get an item called Child's Watch. Then we can crouch and it will teleport back down in there. Now this plays, and we'll play some voice lines before we're taking the music box out. And this just detects the same as the hat and the other thing, and it'll just teleport an armor stand up into the build. It will then play a sound that will tell you have to remove the music box, and then it will play this little voice line here, which will make you have to remove the music box. So then we'll remove this music box right here like that, and we'll place it on the desk, and then when we do that, we'll have to take the shoe out and put it in the lost and found bin. So we actually have to press a button first. So it'll just, once again, there's another interaction, and it'll detect when we use this interaction by setting the score, and it'll then reset the pose of this so-called thing and safety latch, and then it will make sure you can never actually die from it anymore, and also play a sound while you do it. So now we can remove the music box or the shoe from Freddy's chest cavity and put it in the lost and found bin. So now we can actually remove the child's shoe. So as you can see, it will detect when we hold the child's shoe, and then it will tell us to put the music box back, and we will call it a day. So as you can see, if it's reset, and if I were to grab the child's shoe, place it back in there, as you can see, it will then fall back down in there by removing its gravity of the armor stand, and once it does that, we can put this music box back inside of Freddy's chest cavity and call it a day. So then it will detect when you put the music box back in, and when it does, it will remove it so it falls to the ground. And then it'll do a little particle effect and play a sound to make it look like the music box has broken and we need to replace it before Freddy gets angry and jump scares us. So now we just have to add the note blocks for that. And the way this works is it's a really badly distorted version of the Toreador March to make it sound like Freddy is really angry and is going to jump scare the player at the end of this. So just play a bunch of sounds, and when it reaches the end, it'll jump scare the player. And if we return the music box in time, that they will not jump scare the player. I've also added particle effects to the eyes to make it look like he's glowing. So then we have this, which will say crisis averted, and then once the crisis has been averted, it will then reset this comparator so you can't use it before telling us to press the buttons on the center of Freddy's face. And then these will play out when we do it. It'll play a few sounds, and then it'll tell us we have concluded our time in parts and service, and we have completed parts and service Freddy, and our pay will be docked accordingly before resetting the minigame and teleporting us into the hub box. And as you can see, here are the outlines for Night Terror's Funtime Freddy, because that is the next minigame we're going to be doing. So you can see here's the closet, the bed, and the two cabinets on either side. We also have the toys littered across the floor, and the hallways are pretty empty due to they're not actually being visible in the game, but I'll still add what you can and actually is there. So let's go move on to the speed build. And now with that, the speed build is now complete. And as you can see on the side of the screen, we have a scoreboard labeled bedroom pose. And I've also added the first thing. So as you can see, when I look at this doorway, it will light up with particles. Same as the other door, because it will detect when you are looking at the doors, which will then detect when you need to throw an item to go towards the door. So as you can see, if I were to go out here, here's what makes this work. it detects if we are in bedroom pose 1, which would be in on the bed, and then it will do particles at that position where we're looking at. So as you can see, if we were to look at the left door or the right door, it will play particles in that area, so we'll know where we're being teleported. And then we'll be teleported there by throwing an item that would be given to us. And then when we'd go to him, we wouldn't want to be able to the particles to play at this door while we're still there, so that's why it detects when we're only at the scoreboard of 1, because if we're at 2, we don't want that to happen. Same as over here, so now all we have to do is add the commands that actually teleport us over here. Here's what the completed movement cycle looks like. We have the 2 split up sections, the one that detects when we're looking and when we throw the items. And when we throw the items, it'll teleport us somewhere else in the bedroom if we would need to, which is very handy, and now we can move on to something else. So if I were to go inside here and show you what I mean. So we're going to have to first close these doors. So we'd click this button and the door would close, and we would also need to use the flashlight where we would remove the black concrete so we can see out into the hallway to see if there's any potential threats. So as you can see, the items are in my inventory like I said before, and we also have an item called Flashlight Crouch to use in our inventory. So if we were to go over here and run to the left door as so, we'll be teleported down and we'll go over here. And then if we crouch, some play sounds will play, and the black concrete is removed, and when I'm not crouching, the same as vice versa. So if I go over here, it'll work in the exact same way. I'll flash out, I can see out into the hallway to see if anything is there. And if I go back to the bed, I can still use it and see if there's anything else needed to be done, like as if Bonnet is in one of the cabinets. So if I go back over here and close the door, we'll click this button and the door would close. Now at the moment it doesn't do that, but then we'll click it again and the door would open. So let's go to move on to making the doors. So here are the doors, and I've now made both of them. So as you can see, if I were to click this button, I'll be teleported here, and if I click it again, it will be open while playing some sounds. And it works the same way on both sides. And it works with just cloning these 2 frames into position when you click the certain button if the door is open or closed. And then we'll set a score to the door is open or closed while teleporting it into the certain position. Now I've added this over here, so at the beginning of these that infinitely teleport you, it will only teleport you to the door in the current position if the door is open or closed, so you're not inside the door when you actually close it. So if I were to go over here and put myself inside the bedroom, as you can see I've been given a flashlight, and if I were to close the door, I'm now infinitely teleported here instead of anywhere else. So, and if I do it again, and if I do it here, I can now change my position to make it look like I've moved and closed or opened the door. So now all we have to do now is actually work on Bonnet, who can appear in one of these cabinets or the closet, and make Funtime Freddy, who's in the hallway, as well as Bonbon. So let's start working on Bonnet. So here are the commands that make up the first part of Bonnet. So as you can see, we have these chains, and over here we have our Bonnet armor stand. So what will happen is a timer will start counting down, and when that happens, it will do a random command. So as you can see, if it detects the Bonnet active timer has ended, right here, it will do a random command, a value of 1, 2, 3, and depending which 3 places Bonnet could appear, either in the front cabinet, or in the closet, or in the left or the right cabinet. And we have all of the clones to open and close these 2 cabinets or the closet. So now all you have to do is actually make them work by making it so you have to flash Bonnet when she's at the certain point in the bedroom. And they just work with some teleport commands and clone commands to make it work all together. So the next thing we'll do is if we were in the closet though, Funtime Freddy would be teleported in there, but we don't have Funtime Freddy just yet. So you can see if I go Bonnet random 2, she'll be teleported in here and giggle. And if I were to do it to 3, 2, she would move there, the door is closed and she's now over here. And if I were to do it 3, that one's closed and the closet is now open. So this is how Bonnet would work. Now the next thing we'll need to do is flash her when she's in the cabinet to prevent her jump scare. And if you do get jump scared over here, this is how it will work. So it will detect if the jump timer matches 0, and it'll just animate the Bonnet armor stand and playing some sounds to make it look like she's jump scared. And Bonnet and Bonbon jump scare are non-lethal, meaning they cannot kill you, only Funtime Freddy is the one who can end the game. So if I were to go out here and click scoreboard player set at P Bonnet jump timer or active timer to 100, she'll eventually appear in one of these 3 cabinets or closets. So as you can see, she's appeared there, and if I ignore her instead of flashing her, after a certain amount of time, she'll eventually jump scare me. So as you can see, I've been jump scared, and then she's disappeared, and she has restarted her cycle, as you can see right here through this command block. So now all we have to do now is actually make Funtime Freddy and Bonbon. So here is Bonbon, and as you can see, Bonbon just is peeking across the hallway just like Funtime Freddy would. So here is the model, and I've located all of her positions. So as you can see, we have a default position, which is when she's there out of the map, when she's in the left hall peeking out, or in the right hall peeking out. And if I click one of these things, she'll disappear and teleport over to that area. So as you can see, here she is just peeking over the edge, and we'll have to flash her to get rid of her, or else she'll jump scare you. And I can do this again, and she is no longer over in the left corridor, but now the right corridor, and her pose also changes to make it look like she's peeking out the opposite direction instead of just floating in mid-air. So now all we have to do is make it so Bonnet has a random timer so she can activate and jump scare the player if needed. I've now done that, and as you can see, I've added quite more few scoreboards and commands. So here it is, and all of it in entirety. So it starts with a similar timer like Bonnet does, and then a random command, depending which hallway Bonbon will be teleported into. Then these two will detect it, which will do a countdown timer to when she will jump scare you. And if you don't stop it in time, jump scare will play. But to stop it, all you have to do is flash her while she's in the hallway, which is what this will detect. When she's in the right door, and you flash her, she'll go away. So now all we have to do is make the jump scare, which, as you can see, will just be detected if the jump scare score matches 0 or less. So now that we've done this, we can move on to Funtime Freddy. So here is Funtime Freddy's model. As you can see, he has everything. He has his hat, he has his arm, and all that. But he's missing Bonbon, because Bonbon is elsewhere, trying to jump scare us. So, and he has a speaker on in the middle of his chest. Usually there'll be a comparator here, but for the sake of showing this, there won't be. He starts like Bonnet and Bonbon, where he has a timer, and then it'll be a random command which will detect where he will spawn, depending if he goes in the left or right hallways. And then once that happens, it'll set this block to air so he doesn't start again, same as this one. Then these will detect the 10s which hallway he spawns in, and then these timers will count down the timer to 1, and then when the timer reaches to 0, these two will power, and then it'll teleport him to the corresponding door, which will then, these two will power, and it detects if we actually close the door while he's at the corresponding door, which will restart him with all these commands here. Set a comparator over there so you can restart a cycle and try again. And then if you don't and you fail, he'll just jump scare you, and here are all the chain of commands that make that work. At the moment there's no jump scare, so it just does that. And then over here are the commands which actually stop him if he's actually in the hallway. So if you flash a light while he's in that hallway, he'll go to the end just like the FNAF 4 characters in FNAF 4. And now that we've done that, we can now go over back to Bonnet and finish her off by making Funtime Freddy in the closet. So as you can see here, we have this setup that makes this work. So over here at Bonnet, as you can see, after a certain period of time after being teleported into the closet, you'll play a sound, teleport Bonnet away, before playing a sound and setting a redstone block over here and starting this circuit and setting the score to Bonnet pose 5 or 3. And then it'll power this chain, teleport Funtime Freddy into the closet, where it'll detect when the countdown matches 5. It'll play a breathing noise before counting down the jump scare. Now to stop it, you just have to crouch while looking at the closet door, which will then power this strip, resetting Funtime Freddy and Bonnet so they can both be trying again to attack the player. Now this actually completes Night Terrors itself, and all we have to do now is make the jump scare animation, and which we have not done yet, but once we make the jump scare animation and the 2 hub boxes, we should be fine and have completed Night Terrors. And with that, we have now completed the entirety of the Night Terrors Funtime Freddy level. As you can see, we have the time theme, and we also have the hub box, where you can either win a prize or lose and retry, go back to the hub. And then we have the hints. So we have this 5 until 6 AM hint, and we can cycle through all of these hints if we would need to, so if the player does not know what they're doing. Now we can start going on with the gameplay, now that I have completed all the levels that I wanted to show off. I hope you all enjoy, and let's see if we can survive all of the minigames I have created in this episode. Alright, so now that we're in the hub, hello Mr. Glitchtrap, and we are back here, and I haven't been here in a few months now. Alright, so let's do this in a fun order. Let's start with Parts and Service Chica. She is a fun level. Alright, so here we go. Next hint, make repairs, push buttons, and that seems to be all the hints. Okay, let's start. Welcome back to Parts and Service. People have been complaining because Chica's stinky. Let's look around. As you can see, it's quite a dark kitchen area. but first we'll have to remove all the food particles from Chica. So let's place all these Chica slices in the bin. So let's grab this pizza, place it there, and then the final slice up here, and put that in there. Alright, good job. Now we have to press the 2 buttons on either side of Chica's beak. So make sure we don't click them on accident, because we could get jump scared. Alright, there's the infection. Chica has now been infected. So this means that to clear the infestation, we just have to use the Fazbear Entertainment Chemi Spray. Now that we've done that, we should be able to put the arm and the cupcake plate back. So if I place that there, we should be fine. Alright, so just grab the cupcake and place it there. Alright, so the infestation is back, so I just gotta click this again, and now we have to return the cupcake to Chica's plate. Where is the cupcake? Alright, there we go, grab it, place it. Alright, now we can take our complimentary slice of pizza. Delicious. Alright, that was quite an easy minigame, fun one though. Alright, so let's see what our gift is, and our gift is Bonnie Bites. Delicious. Alright, now, hello Mr. Glitch Trap, hello. Let's play another level. Let's go. We just did a parts and service. Yeah, let's go with Night Terrors. Alright, Funtime Freddy. Alright, crouch to use your flashlight. Any other hints? Throw item to teleport. And survive until 6 AM. And that is all of the hints. Alright, we can start now. Alright, Funtime Freddy already moving. I'm pretty sure he might have heard him on this side, I think. Oh, yep, he's breathing. It's hard to get there in time. That's why I usually wait. I could flash him, but I'm scared he'll jump scare. Alright, I heard Bonnet, yep. Let's get rid of Bonnet. I might sometimes have to ignore Bonbon and Bonnet because Funtime Freddy's more important. Where yep, he's breathing again. And yep, just like that. Bonbon jump scared me. Alright, so we got that. Maybe I should just wait. Alright, I think he's over this way. Yeah, I hear his breathing. No, he's at the closet. Yeah, he's at the closet. Yeah, lucky I caught that because I thought he was at the door. So I'm just gonna wait at the bottom, and I got jump scared by Bonbon again. Right there, we caught him at the end of the hallway this time. I can flash him there like that. Bonbon should be over here. Oh, I forgot to mention that when Funtime Freddy enters a hallway, Bonbon is automatically teleported to the other one. We got Bonbon this time. I think he's over this way. Yep, there's breathing. Close the door. He's gone? Yep, he's gone. Just have to wait. Alright, I heard Bonbon. Bonbon. No, that was Funtime Freddy. Alright, let's go get Bonbon if we can in time, or should we just wait here? Let's just wait. Alright, yeah, because he just came back up. Yep. We could have gone and got Bonbon, but I think this is a good strategy, just to wait at a door. Alright, he keeps coming to this one. Just wait at a door, and if he's at this one, flash him. If he's not, run over there and close it. I think he's over that way, because I heard the footsteps that way. Yep, there he is. We caught him just in time. Let's go to this way, and then we get jump scared by Bonbon. Alright, yeah, he's on this side this time. Well, I might have flashed him because maybe it was a bit too quick. But never mind. And we won. 6 AM. Yep, there we have it, 6 AM. So now that we've won that, we can now move on to the other one. So let's see what our gift is. So we're now in the winning room. What did we get? We got a Fazbar. Yummy. Hello, Glitch Trap. Still waving there like usual, huh? I will add more functionality to you later, buddy. FNAF 1? No. Not the FNAF 1 updates. Let's do parts of service. I do not know what happened then. I was just teleported. Alright, not the FNAF 1 levels. Yeah, maybe not the FNAF 1 levels. Let's do parts of service Freddy instead. I don't really want to show off FNAF 1 because I've done it in my first video. Alright, so push buttons, make repairs. And that's all of the hints, so let's start. Welcome back to Parts and Service. Someone has left their personal belonging on Freddy Fazbear. Alright, so we gotta grab the hat. So let's try and grab it, please. Alright, there we go. Now we have to place it on the right. Alright, so now we got that in there. Now we have to access Freddy's chest cavity. Almost called him Chetty there. So we have to be careful not to touch any of his wiring, like the safety latch. Alright, we got the watch. Place that in there. Now we have to grab the music box. Alright, so we just have to safely latch before the safety latch ends. So grab it. Alright, there we got it. Now place it on the desk. Alright, so now we just have to press the button. Let's time this so we don't hit it. There we go. We got it. So let's just grab the shoe and then put it on the lost and found. Grab the music box back, and we can. Alright, she's angry, so we just have to replace the music box, and there we go. Crisis averted. Alright, so we have to boop his nose. Boop. And then we have my pay will be docked accordingly. Delicious. What? I don't know what that was, but what's our gift? And we get a Chica plushie. And that's everything we've done. Now. Yippee. That brings us to the end of today's video, and this was so enjoyable and fun for me to make. Now that this is over, I plan to make more things and more advanced thing and a massive big project instead, so there might not be a few videos for a few while. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you all enjoyed it. Thank you, and hopefully I'll see you guys next time.